So as promised in my review for the Wheel of Time Season 2, I have learnt the intro to Eye of the World, and hopefully I get it in one. The Wheel of Time turns, leaving... Oh, wait. I didn't get it in one. Damn it. The Wheel of Time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age long past, an age yet to come, god damn it! In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age long past, an age yet to come. Wind rose in the mountains of mist, god damn it! The Wheel of Time turns and ages come and pass, leaving memories that become legend. Legend fades to myth, and even myth is long forgotten when the age that gave it birth comes again. In one age, called the Third Age by some, an age long past, an age yet to come, a wind rose in the mountains of mist. I did it! I did it! God, yes! Right, now I just have to remember it so I can do it for every Wheel of Time related video in the future. Okay, Book 8 of the Wheel of Time, The Path of Daggers. I'm not gonna lie, my review for this one's gonna be fairly straightforward because at the end of the day, this was kind of just half a book, but just really elongated. Honestly, that's just how I feel about it. I think the book is good, but like, it's nothing amazing either, but also, it feels like filler, but also, it's an 800+ page book, and it's like, what are we doing here, Robert Jordan? Like, in the grand scheme of things, not a lot of things really happen in this book, and when it does happen, it's mainly in the second half of the book. We're gonna go through the Wheel of Time wiki and look at the plot summary and such, because again, I do that just to refresh my memory, but also, when we get into that, I won't lie, there isn't really much on the wiki either. A lot of the first half of the book deals with Egwene and Aviendha and Nynaeve, and I'm not gonna lie, I do find a bunch of that stuff kind of boring. Even the Aes Sedai politics with Elida, it's kind of boring. It's well written, don't get me wrong. Robert Jordan, his words are immaculate, his prose are immaculate, but just at the end of the day, whenever it gets to an Egwene, Elaine, Nynaeve chapter, I do just find it kind of boring. There are some interesting things that happen, but a lot of it is just a lot of the Aes Sedai kind of squabbling with each other, or Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve just squabbling with each other, and it's like, okay, I kind of get it. Stop whining and complaining. What also doesn't help is the fact that Kate Redding, one of the co-narrators of the book, has one of the most soothing and relaxing voices I've ever heard. Her narration voice is amazing. It's so relaxing and soothing that my brain can't help but switch off, which I can't tell is a compliment or not, because on the one hand, her narration voice is really good, but also, it's really relaxing and soothing and it makes my brain go to sleep, so I can't tell if that's a compliment or not. Anyways, let's get into the plot summary. So, The Path of Daggers consists of a prologue and 31 chapters. This is also one of the books where Robert Jordan just has an insanely long prologue. Like, I'm on book 9 right now, and I've listened through the prologue. That thing was 2 hours long. What was he writing about? I mean, I know what he was writing about, but the thing that I find funny about the prologue to book 9 is that a lot of it feels like wrap up for book 8, and it's kind of like, why didn't you just include that in book 8? We'll talk about it more, but in many ways this book kind of just ends. Elaine Trakan, Nynaeve Almira, Aviendha, and their coalition of channelers use the Ta'angreal called the Bowl of the Winds to reverse the unnatural heat brought by the Dark One's manipulation of the climate, and then escape a Seanchan invasion by travelling to Andor, where Elaine claims the Lion Throne. Finally! It took her so long that she finally claimed the Lion Throne. I was going to say Iron Throne for a second. I always do that. It's the Lion Throne, not the Iron Throne. Also, if I'm remembering this correctly, this is the book where Elaine takes the Lion Throne, and as ruler of Andor, she goes, Rand al'Thor, king of Ilian, will not have a lot of say in this province. I am ruler of Andor, and it will be governed by me. Which again just muddles and confuses her relationship with Rand and my feelings towards her relationship with Rand, because in many ways, they haven't really spent a lot of time with each other. It's like in book 3, they were together. Rand's like,
oh, Elaine, I love you.
And then in book 4, 5, it's just so messy. Like, Rand's with Aviendha, now he's with Min, and it's so messy and complicated, but hey, Elaine finally has the Lion Throne. They even address it, I think it's in the prologue to book 9. I know I'm talking a lot about the prologue to book 9, but in many ways, a lot of that prologue feels like it's additional material to book 8. Elaine says that even she doesn't know how she feels about Rand half of the time, which I can't tell if this is Robert Jordan taking criticism from the readers going, what is up with Rand and Elaine's relationship, but also, I can't tell if this is just the character being like, what am I doing with Rand? What is going on here? Because I don't know what's going on here anymore. Her and Aviendha have made this pact to share Rand, but how? They haven't interacted with Rand properly in like ages. Her and Abara moves into Gildun. Is it Gildun or Gildun? Because in the books, especially Michael Kramer's narration, he says Gildun, but in the show they say Gildun. In an attempt to stop Masema Dagar, the self-proclaimed prophet of the dragon. At the end of the book, Fail Bashir is kidnapped by the Shadow Aiel. Funnily enough, this scene doesn't mention the scene between Perrin and Elias, which I just think is funny, because this is the first time Elias has showed up since book 1. He shows up, talks to Perrin, and goes, Perrin, you're married now, what the hell? And then Perrin starts talking to him about his wife, and he's like, oh, my wife is just so, like, annoyed and jealous all the time. And then Elias is just like, you have to shout at your wife, you have to take control, that's what she's used to as a, something. She's a Bashir, and she's a noblewoman of something. Let me know in the comments, I've forgotten. Robert Jordan in lots of ways does fall into a lot of masculine and feminine stereotypes, which, yeah, sometimes does feel a tiny bit outdated, but it also, like, works within the world, because this world isn't a patriarchy, it's mostly a matriarchy, but then also there is, like, different dynamics between each nation. Now, the part in the book where Fail gets kidnapped by the Shadow Aiel and is essentially stripped naked and has to walk through the freezing cold, that was good writing. That was really impactful, and you feel for Fail in that. You feel the danger, you feel the humiliation, and it's pretty well done. Egwene Alvear, Amelin seat of the Rebel Eyes to Die, finally manipulates her unruly followers into giving her more control, and they prepare to travel to Tar Valon to lay siege to the White Tower. Okay, first off, I was watching the Wheel of Time pilot with my friends because I wanted to show them it, and I won't lie, I feel like I should have filmed that. I feel like that would be a really good video idea. But that's beside from the point. The point is that the subtitles were on, and one of my friends pointed out the fact that Egwene's name is written like Egwene, and I'm not gonna lie, I found that hilarious, and I can't look at Egwene's name anymore and not see Egwene. So if I accidentally call her Egwene, you know why. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is that when it came to Egwene's subplot, I like the fact that it's building up to this big battle in Tar Valon. But I also feel like this book is the start of Robert Jordan beginning to pay things off that he's been spinning and turning around with for several books now. Like, Egwene was made Amelin's seat in Lord of Chaos, and then for book 7, she kind of was just like spinning her wheels, not really doing much. And then in book 8, it's like she's finally doing something. See, because this is my first time around, a lot of Robert Jordan, you know, spinning around, turning around his wheels or whatever and waffling, we'll call it that, to me, in many ways, feels like it's Robert Jordan wasting time. But I feel like rereading that, all this detail is necessary in several points, but also it might just feel like a bunch of waffle at the end of the day. I don't know, I haven't reread the series, I need to actually finish the series first. Honestly, that's my main critique of the Wheel of Time book series, is the fact that they're all fantastically well written, but just Robert Jordan is spinning his wheels a lot of the time and is just kind of waffling. Like, I'm sorry, I don't think you need 14 books to tell this story so far, especially the past 3 books. You could have condensed down a lot. And my opinion might change on this, but I do feel like books 8 and book 9, again, I haven't finished book 9 at all, I've only just read the prologue, but from what I've gathered, I feel like you can just condense that down into one book. Now getting onto the subplot that immediately captured my attention when it showed up, because I wasn't expecting Rand to show up in this book, because he doesn't show up till what, like halfway through? Rand al'Thor with the Asha'man and Ilyanas attempt to repel the Seanchan invasion in Altara. In the end, the Seanchan army and Rand's forces fight to a stalemate when Rand uses Kalendor on the Seanchan army. By wielding Kalendor alone, the sword makes him temporarily insane, causing much destruction on both armies, leaving them both on the losing end. So this chapter I thought was awesome. When Rand faces off against the Seanchan, he takes out Kalendor and then he starts using it. Lightning is like flying everywhere. Soldiers on both sides are being electrocuted and destroyed, and then Bashir finally knocks Rand down and is like, Rand, stop! And then Rand stops and looks around and sees that the whole armies have been, you know, fried by the lightning. It's really cool, I love that stuff. That being said though, a criticism I do have with this subplot is the fact that Robert Jordan wrote in a foil to Kalendor itself. He wrote in a weakness to the weapon, which didn't show up at all in book 3, and it's kind of like, what the hell, Robert Jordan? Where was this in book 3? The sword that isn't a sword is something that Rand uses so easily in book 3. He walks around and is just like hacking and slashing with it. And then he uses Kalendor as a sword, and then he, you know, kills Belial and he stabs Baalzamon, who turns out to be a Shamael and such. In The Dragon Reborn, Kalendor was essentially just a cool sword. But now in this book, Kalendor has like a built-in fault where it just makes whoever's wielding it without the assistance of other Eyes to Die just go insane. That being said though, one of the things that I really enjoyed was the fact that Lews Therin returned, because I believe in the previous book Lews Therin was silenced, or in the sense of that Rand was healed and so his sanity was healed a bit more, so he wasn't going as crazy and Lews Therin's voice wasn't in his head as much. And when Lews Therin returned, I won't lie, I got really excited. I love the writing with Rand and Lews Therin, their conversations, Lews Therin's thoughts popping into Rand's head, Rand basically going insane. It's great. I love the scene too where he returns, where Rand's just sort of laughing to himself, and then you hear the laughter in his head too, and it's Lews Therin, and they're both kind of just cackling, and then the line's like, Rand was laughing because Lews Therin had returned. It's so cool. I love the way Robert Jordan writes Rand's madness. If the Egwene, Elaine, and Nynaeve chapters are the ones where my brain switches off, whenever it's a Rand chapter, I'm immediately back in the game. I'm like, yeah, this is so cool. Honestly, I just can't wait to see how Rand's story progresses because, I mean, we'll continue on with the plot summary in a second, but it's just, Rand is easily just the coolest character in this book series. Returning to Karien, Rand is attacked by traitorous Ashraman, led by Coriander Shiva, who attempted and failed to kill him. Yeah, so essentially some of the Ashraman tried to betray and kill Rand, and then Rand runs off with Min, and they're basically on the run. That stuff is really cool too. I like the fact that Rand is on the run. It's funny though because he was King of Ilion for like half of a book and did so badly that he's on the run, which I just find interesting. Interestingly enough though, the wiki actually mentions the fact that Matt isn't in the book, which is fun because yeah, Matt just isn't in the book, which is weird considering how the last book ended where the Seanchan attacked and Matt was trapped under rubble, but where is he? I don't remember him being mentioned in the first half of the book at all. Like, the girls would mention Matt. They'd say, oh, Matt is, you know, dealing with something, or Matt's, you know, off somewhere else. Matt's back in the place where the Seanchan attacked, but it's like, what happened to Matt? I don't ever recall him ever appearing in this book except for by name. Also, as the wiki kindly points out, this is the first book in the series that finishes with no important achievement of the light. Rand is on the run, his mental condition is declining, Fael is kidnapped, Egwene and Elaine are in uncertainty. The only milestone, using the bowl of winds and improving weather, in the book is reached in chapter 5. But yeah, that was kind of it. The Path of Daggers isn't a book that I hated. Like, I liked it fine enough, but in many ways, it felt like it was half a book, but also it was the length of a full book, so I don't know how I felt, to be honest. Like, I didn't hate it. I enjoyed it more than the Fires of Heaven because I just couldn't get through the Fires of Heaven properly. Like, the Fires of Heaven in many scenes just dragged and bored me until the very end. Whereas this book has the stuff with Rand as King of Ilion and him dealing with the men. Uno shows up, I think, again. Rand uses Calendar again in that whole sequence with him on the battlefield using Calendar against the Seanchan but also damaging his own army was really cool. I liked the fact that Rand lost. Do I wish we got more scenes of Rand being King of Ilion? Yeah, I do. But who knows, maybe that happens again in the next book. I just have to keep reading to find out. But yeah, like I said earlier, this book in many ways feels like Robert Jordan is beginning to pay off things that he's set up in previous books, but also, again, my main criticism of Robert Jordan is the fact that he takes so long just to get to the point. Do you know what I've also just found weird as well is how he'll just drop things? Like, for example, Rand's desire to see Tam al'Thor again. It's like in book 4, he finds out that the two rivers are under attack, and he sends Perrin to go deal with it. But he never really goes, oh, I want to see my dad again. Like, he does love his dad, and he does want to see him again, but he never, like, uses his position of power to see his dad again. Like, he's King of Ilion right now. If Rand really loved his father and really wanted to see him so desperately, why doesn't he just send out a royal decree going, Tam al'Thor, you are being summoned to Ilion by Rand al'Thor, King of Ilion? Like, this isn't, like, a major criticism, but it does make me think that Rand is a bit of an idiot sometimes. Like, if Robert Jordan wants to have Rand and Tam reunite, it would make sense for them to reunite right now. Like, I get in book 4, Rand was busy and he had things to do, but there are times where, like, specifically now, the fact that he was King of Ilion, he could have easily been like, Tam, you have to come to see me because I want to see. I don't know, I just find it weird. It feels like either Robert Jordan has just forgotten the fact that Rand wants to see Tam, or yeah, he just hasn't thought about it. I don't know, maybe if or when Tam shows up again, it's going to be really impactful and really emotional, and he reunites with Rand, then it's going to be all like, you know, bone-breaking hugs and all like emotional and stuff. But as of right now, I do just find it funny how Rand has kind of just forgotten about his dad. Okay, I say dad, like, obviously Tam isn't his real father, but it's kind of like, you know, the man raised Rand. How has Rand not just been like, I need to see him, I haven't seen him in so long? But anyways, yeah, those are my thoughts on the Path of Daggers. Overall, it was kind of long-winded, but at the same time, I enjoyed it more than, say, the Fires of Heaven. It does, in many ways, just feel like half a book, but I still enjoyed it. But what did you guys think of the Path of Daggers? Let me know in the comments down below. Like, subscribe on social media, all that good stuff. And until we meet again, I'll see you guys next time.